Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV Podcast. This is episode 106, the week of March 22nd, 2026. My name is Drew Koenig. With me, as always, my co-host, Mads Patassi. Mads, how we doing?
I'm alive.
Well, that's nice.
That's my new, just general statement about the world is I'm alive. What you can't expect much more from me out of that.
That can't be our baseline.
It's my baseline right now.
That can't be the ground floor. That's meant to be subterranean, not the story place.
Yeah, well, when you have a chronic condition where your technical baseline is dead, being alive is actually a decent baseline.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
The diabetes. Someone actually said that in a TikTok recently, and I was like, you know what? You're not wrong. Technically, our baseline is dead. What's new in the world, Drew?
What's new in the world, indeed. You know, we're about a quarter of the way through this year. Actually, a third of the way through this year, which is upsetting.
Yes.
But we, we'll get there. We'll get there. Soon enough, the end of the year will be right back around, and we'll be having to pick all our shows again. It always comes. And things are great. Things are fine. Everything's fine. This week, we're going to be talking about Starfleet Academy, which is going to be a fun conversation, I think. Will be perhaps a familiar conversation, but a fun one nonetheless. One that I think we've had before in other ways. Stay tuned for that. Check out our feed for our Patreon bonus episode, where we are doing a draft for a Star Trek crew in a ship, which was a fun conversation, a fun little exercise. Yeah, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/NotOnTV Podcasts for a reasonable $3 a month, because Patreon would physically not let me let it be lower than that. But check that out. We have some news to talk about this week, because we've been off for a couple weeks, and to quote John Oliver, a lot has happened.
A lot has happened. Indeed.
Let's begin with, we had a couple of passes over the week, or over the last 2 weeks, rather. First, it's funny in both of these cases that I'm going to talk about. They are both, well, that's sad, I guess.
Yeah.
Rarely has deaths been so conflicted. The first one is Chuck Norris, who was a very prolific TV actor, was, Walker on Walker, Texas Ranger, and culturally a very significant figure, a very iconic person who was also not a great guy. And it's okay for both of those things to coexist while we are commemorating someone, while he was an interesting actor in terms of both performance and role choices, outside of Walker. He was also, anti-science and a homophobe and not a great guy.
Yeah.
But it's sad that he died, I guess.
I don't know. The way I see it is he was oldish. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I feel bad for his family. It sucks to lose someone, but he was very, very well known as being a crappy person.
Which brings us to the second person who died this week. Nicholas Brendon, who is most famous for playing Xander on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who was also not a great guy.
I'm going to be dead honest. When I saw this news hit, when I saw the report that he had died, it was from one of those non-major news sources. And so I was like, that's fake. That's not real. Somebody's just copying off the fact that Buffy's been in the news this week. And then I went and saw it on Variety, and I was like, never mind, it's real.
At the moment we are recording this, died of natural causes, whatever that means for someone who was in their 50s. It's sad that he died, but was also someone who hurt a lot of people and was rather prolific for hurting a lot of people. that did not deserve it and was not warranted in any way. And it's for some people to say, yeah, he wasn't great, but also he was Xander. And it's like, well, that's also not great.
Yeah.
That's like saying, yeah, you could get struck by lightning, but you could also die in a fire.
Granted, I'm saying yeah as if I've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I have seen zero. That's not true. I've seen one episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's because Karen was trying to convince me to watch, and so she had me watch the musical episode, which
Yeah.
was fun and entertaining, but I had no idea what was going on. But I could tell from conversations that people have had about this guy for years now that I was like, oh, he's not a good dude. And his character wasn't necessarily a good dude either.
I will say the thing that to me is rough about it is him passing away so closely followed by Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah.
The two of those in close proximity. They were both still fairly young. I mean, Buffy isn't old enough of a show for people to be dropping like flies. So that's a rough thing. Like, mostly I feel bad for Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's,
Going
both lost
through it right now.
Yeah, both lost Michelle Trachtenberg and now Nicholas Brendan. And then had all the rest that we will talk about. So I do feel bad for her in that regard.
Yeah, because she just recently posted, I can't believe it's been a year about Michelle. And so it's like, oh my God, it has been a year.
Which does lead us to our next topic here, which is Hulu is not going to be going forward with the Buffy revival that was being helmed by Chloe Zhao, and would feature Sarah Michelle Gellar in a small role, allegedly. And there's shockingly a lot to this story, more than I anticipated that there would be, because it's not. I mean, it's not unusual for companies and studios and networks to be like, yeah, we're not going to do that actually, and it usually doesn't result in the amount of fervor that this has gained. But there's been a lot of back and forth between Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chloe Zhao and Hulu about the reasons for this. Sarah Michelle Gellar says that it's mostly due to an executive who was notably not a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and did not care for it. And Hulu says that Chloe Zhao just wasn't good at making a TV show, which is obvious PR bullshit, right? But also, it wouldn't shock me that a movie person doesn't know how to make a TV show.
Yeah, I saw so many comments of people being like, oh, trying to say that Chloe Zhao doesn't know how to do this right when she did Sinners. And I'm like, movie and TV are two totally different mediums, like two totally different ways of doing things. So she could not be great at TV, but really good at movies.
But I also, and I do want to highlight, that is a PR slandering. That is
absolutely
PR bullshit. Whether or not, I mean, it does. I am more inclined to side with not necessarily Chloe Zhao, who is a great director, but with Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is very familiar with this. And it just seemed like Hulu didn't know what show it wanted to make, or it wanted just more Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It didn't want to make an entry into the story, with Ryan Kiera Armstrong as the lead. It wanted a Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It wanted Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy to helm the project, and not a show where Buffy was also there.
Yeah.
They said that they wanted a show that skewed a little. Well, they said they wanted it to skew older. Like the project they had was skewing too young. Like, that's the entire point of making a reboot.
Right. You want to get younger audiences in.
Yeah, you're wanting to pass it off to a new generation. And I will say, Ryan Kiera Armstrong, like, looked really, like, the promotional pictures they had looked spot on. Like, she looked great. Someone that we were big fans of from Skeleton Crew and The Lowdown. She seemed like she was a really good fit for the character. And it's possible that, like, the iterations they had, because I think they did like 5 or 6 different revisions of the script that Hulu was just increasingly not satisfied with. And they filmed that pilot, And hey, maybe it's a bad pilot. Game of Thrones famously had a terrible pilot that they had to almost entirely scrap and rework from the bottom up. Like all of those actors were different by the end of it. And it just seems like just do that. Like none of this was a for real slam dunk. And it's not, I do want to stress that it's not dead. It's just currently not happening.
It's shelved.
Yeah, it's shelved. It's possible something could happen with it. And it's also possible that Chloe Zhao wasn't a good fit for this. I don't think it's entirely likely, but hey, I do think it's possible that someone else could come along and kind of pick this up. But I think the thing that it sounded like Disney wanted, that Hulu and Disney wanted from this, which is like, hey, just give me more Buffy, probably wasn't the thing that anyone wanted to make. So I do think it's a massive bummer. I think it would have been very cool. I hope that Brian Kiera Armstrong kind of bounces back from this and finds something also cool to do, because I think she would have been great. One interesting thing from this week that I wanted to talk about, there is a new Wheel of Time animated series, feature film, and video game in the works from an Arcane producer, which initially myself and I think a lot of other people said, oh, that's interesting. That would be cool if like Fortiche or someone associated with that company is making a Wheel of Time animated series. That's really cool. Like high fantasy should be animated, you know, like that's the thing that makes the most sense, you know, that can kind of capture the big magical swings that you want something like this to take. And then it was greater remarked upon by a lot of people that the studio that would be making this is very, to put it plainly, AI friendly, and uses a lot of AI in their stuff. So it was a real 1-2 punch, because Wheel of Time just was canceled, I think, about a year ago over at Prime Video, and like not necessarily a continuation of that, but a kind of new life into animation would have been really cool. And it just seems like that is just going to continue to not have a satisfying future, which is a big bummer, because there is so much you can do with Wheel. Like it's such a cool property, and you know the show was so cool. It would be really interesting to see it in animation. But this doesn't seem like it. Guys, I don't know. Like Arcane has a lot of goodwill. I don't know that it has that much goodwill. So that is a bummer. If nothing else, hopefully something interesting can come from the video game, because I think that would also, like an open world video game of Wheel of Time, I think would be really interesting. Speaking of video games, there was cool stuff about Assassin's Creed over at Netflix, about the time period of that, and telling an original story, which I think is the only way you can really do Assassin's Creed. Like you can't just tell the Ezio stories from the games, because it's a game with no winner. Like doing that as a game with no winner, so being entirely new in like 90 AD Rome is a good idea. There was cool news out of Life is Strange, which cast its 2 leads in that, which I don't have the names pulled up here, but was looked really good. Even if I continue to think that adapting a choice-based video game is not a good idea, because how do you do that? How do you narratively make that satisfying? Maisie Stella and Tatum Grace Hopkins have both been cast as the leads of Chloe and Max, and they look it looks like who you would want Chloe Max to look like if you're casting it, and be like, yep, it's good. But on top of that, Karen Kusama, who directed Jennifer's Body and episodes of Yellow Jackets, is going to be directing the first 2 episodes of that, which is like, yeah, again, exactly who you would get. If you're making this like gay little show, you're going to make it from someone who made a very gay movie and a gay little show. But that is all the news for this week. For the GOAT this week, we're going to be skipping any new picks. We're going to be doing GOAT Madness fairly soon here, which we'll be doing through the end of March and probably a little bit into April. So we'll be cutting that off for just a minute. Without anything else, let's move on into the main part of our show. So to kick us off this week, I'm gonna play a little bit of catch up here, and look back towards the end of 2025, which I know we've done a little bit of the past couple episodes, and check back in with Pluribus.
Oh yeah.
Still had 2 episodes left in its run when we did our end of year list. We had some concern of, will the last 2 episodes kind of satisfy its place on our list, which were fairly high on our top 10s. And I was pretty gratified that it maintained quality through the last 2 episodes. Pluribus, a show that we've talked about a lot on this podcast. But for those who don't know, Pluribus follows Carol, played by Rhea Seahorn, who finds herself to be one of the last actual people on the planet after a alien hive mind takes over pretty much the entire planet. And I think the thing that I really like about these last 2 episodes is it isn't building to a big thing. There's not a big climax to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's keeping the emotional core of how do you continue to exist in a world where your grief feels too small and too big, and your place in that world doesn't make sense anymore. And I think the last 2 episodes of deepening that bond between Carol and Zosha and kind of consummating that relationship in a way that was like different from Mr. Demente, who was doing it as like an act of like consumption, as an act of like entertainment through the end of the world, basically. And here it's like Carol has legitimately fallen in love with this woman who is everyone, and the way that it kind of lets us sit with like the discomfort of that, and but also the way that that feels really good for Carol, because so much of the show is about the emotion of the moment. I think some of like the bitterness of Carol being stripped away for Zosha, and this conversation of who is that, who is Zosha, basically. Is that like a singular person? That's still a singular person? Is that everyone? Is it somewhere in between? Is that something that is capable of a monogamous love? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
discussion is so interesting. And then like the inclusion of Manusos, particularly in the last 2 episodes here, of someone who is so almost dogmatic, so stern in his belief, and what
Mm-hmm.
must be done, or the kind of direction that must be taken, and the contrast between him and Carol, I think, is
Right.
so fascinating. But Matt, how did you feel about the last 2 episodes here?
Yeah, I was expecting the show to kind of go for a big, shocking kind of ending. Not because it felt like the show had ever really done that. It's just what I'm used to with shows of this genre, kind of, with this level of intrigue and mystery throughout. But I liked that it was kind of a whimper instead of a bang, right? Like it was very natural, very fluid. It had a realistic, sort of ending. It didn't go for those big punchy moments. It chose to really focus on what had been the focus the whole time, which was Carol's journey through her grief and her making good of a bad situation, and giving her that space to really come into her own and make her own decisions about things. And I really appreciated that. It really felt like a nice, solid conclusion to a solid, wonderfully written show. And it's not very often anymore that I say a show is great from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, especially last year, we had a lot of shows that were like really, really good. And then we get to the final episode and it was like, why did you ruin everything?
Alien Earth.
um, Alien. But this show doesn't do that, right? The show was strong from day one all the way to the end. And I really appreciated that. I really liked it.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And also the show just being, I think, one of the greatest shows about lesbian identity that I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
where so much of this is center, like the people who say it's not that deep about Carol's sexuality are not paying attention to the show. They're watching the show blindfolded. Like, so much of this is grounded in Carol's identity as a lesbian.
Yeah.
Right? The conversation that Carol has in the last episode with Zosha, where Zosha's saying, like, I'm doing what is best for you. We're going to do this to you because it is good for you, is so deeply wrapped in the notion of Carol also having been sent to conversion therapy, sent
Yep.
to conversion camp by her mom. And that's the same, like, it's the same language. And if you don't connect those two things, you are missing a huge part of this show. It's not incidental. I know that we want sexuality to be like just another part of a character, but it is so central to the story being told.
Right, and eventually someday we may get to a point where queerness isn't so different and the queer experience isn't so different for people who live in it, because that's why it has to be its own character. That's why it has to be its own element to a show. We can't just be like, oh well, you could take it away and it would still be the same character. No, you can't, because queerness right now is so centered in the trauma and the negativity that ends up happening to the vast majority of people within the community, that you can't just take it away and expect that character to be the same person, because they're not, especially with this story, with all that Carol had to go through to just reach the point where she's at when the story begins. And to discredit that is to just not understand the show at all.
Yeah, like, it's not even a thing of you can take it from the character. You can't take it from the show. If you remove it from Carol, you take it from the DNA, you take it from the themes, that you take it from what the show is trying to say.
Right.
Which is our identity, who we are, our kind of singularity within the world is so important, is so pivotal. That to take it away is a crime. It is a violation. So I don't know what lesbian was in the writer's room for this, but I think it's exceptional. I think it's a really singular entry of lesbian media, like more so than like shows that are directly about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the back and forth of Carol and Zosha, which I think is like so much of the show, like outside of like the hive mind stuff, like that central dynamic is so significant to what makes the show work. And a lot of that is because Rhea Seehorn and Carolyn Werda are so good together. Their chemistry is so stellar that like every scene that they're together is like revolutionary, it feels like, And there's like parts of me where I'm like, even someone who vividly understands what's happening in the show, is still like, yeah, but Zosha. I understand Carol falling in love with that person, even knowing the full situation. Like, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we get to the end of this season and it's just such a satisfying piece of work, season of television, that I think is like really unmatched. And honestly, the fear we had that like the last two episodes wouldn't match up to where we had it on our list, I feel like it should have been higher.
Yeah. Yep.
If I'm perfectly honest.
It ended up being probably my top show of 2025, if not number 2,
I think it was a for sure top 3 contender.
Yeah.
And God, just what a vehicle for Rhea Seehorn.
Mm-hmm.
After being so good on Better Call Saul, being given this show and just being exemplary throughout.
And I'd never seen her in anything, so like for this to be my first introduction to her, I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah,
You're a
it's
great
so good.
actress.
She's so great. She should win a million. She should win a million awards for
Yeah.
the show. Because so much of it is just her interacting with nothing or
Hmm.
interacting with one person, and she carries this intensity throughout that I think is just so hard to muster. Damn, Vince Gilligan did it again. You son of a bitch. Well, that I do want to ask you: would you ever? I know you have never watched Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. Like after watching, what Vince Gilligan does in the show, would you go back and check them out now? Or
So I tried to watch Breaking Bad, and I just could not get into it.
yeah,
And there are people that are like, "Oh, skip to this," and I'm like, "You don't understand my brain. I can't just skip things. I have to
mm-hmm.
watch it from start to finish." But potentially might do Better Call Saul without the context of Breaking Bad. Fine with that, like because I've heard Better Call Saul is really good.
That is
Um,
really good. Yeah,
so maybe potentially, I don't know. It does give me a bigger desire to be like, I want to check out other things this person has done. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'd really, really have to be like, yeah, I want to sit down and give this a shot.
yeah.
I think, but
I
I do
I get
like a lot of the actors that are on Better Call Saul. Better chance of it than Breaking Bad because the only reason I started to watch Breaking Bad was because Bryan Cranston. Which is he's good, but like it wasn't like enough to keep me there.
that.
So
Right. No, I get that. I think the thing with
so
Breaking Bad is so much of like a snowball rolling down a hill
fair enough.
that by the time it becomes the big ball maintaining velocity speed down the mountain, you're like, oh shit, this is really good. But I yeah, I don't think you're wrong with checking in on Better Call Saul. I think that's definitely something
Hmm.
you can just do because a lot of there's a lot of like neat winks and nudges to Breaking Bad and a lot of like cameos in that from
Yeah.
Breaking Bad, but a lot of it is just like, hey, here's Bob Odenkirk giving a performance of a lifetime.
Right. Right. And oh, who's the other one that's in that? Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes,
He's
yes.
in it. I like him. I also I'm looking at the cast. I'm like, who's the other one though? It's not just him. There's somebody else too. That I was just like Jonathan Banks.
Yeah, Jonathan Banks. Yeah. Better Call Saul has a weird thing of like it's both a Saul Goodman origin story and it's also a Giancarlo Esposito and Jonathan Banks show. Um
Hmm.
and they don't always neatly fit together, but they're kind of that too. And it's also kind of a Rhea
I just
Seahorn show and um
I just have always been a fan of Giancarlo Esposito because he's such a soft-spoken, inspirational speaker of a person. Like you can I could sit and listen to him talk. He could do a TED talk for 5 hours, and I would listen to every single word of it, whether no matter what the subject. But like also as an actor, he really stretches the envelope, and I just love watching his performances. Are always such a fun time and it's such a range as well that I'm like, oh, I would sit down just for him, but also Bob Odenkirk is great, and so is Jonathan Banks.
oh
So I'm like, more likely for me to catch Better Call Saul than Breaking Bad. So
yeah, the Bob Odenkirk, Rhea Seahorn, Jonathan Banks, Giancarlo Esposito, and Michael McKean is like just such a
hmm.
great cast. It's so good. I do think watching Better Call Saul without Breaking Bad in like the final stretch of episodes is much more difficult, but for the most part, yeah,
I was like,
totally
Michael
doable.
McKean, what do I know him from? I'm like looking. Oh, Spinal Tap.
Yeah, he's been in like a million things.
Oh, and Coneheads, and yeah, he's been in like all these Canadian made films. So last summer I was very busy in May and June. And so I missed a few shows. And so I decided to go back and catch a couple of them recently. And one of them was Overcompensating, which was a silly ensemble, college life type show comedy by from Benito Skinner, who plays the main character Benny. And it's Benny is just this really awkward gay kid who came from like Ohio or Idaho. I forget which one. Doesn't matter. He's from middle America, basically. He's a good old country boy. Whatever. He was a homecoming king. He was a football player, and now he's in this very liberal college environment. And he's trying to find his place, and he can't find his place because he doesn't really know who he is. He has very overbearing parents played by Kyle MacLachlan and Connie Britton, which is the craziest combination you could imagine as parents. And Kyle MacLachlan's character is a dad who is retired and has decided that he's going to try a whole slew of new things. And then you come to find out in the Thanksgiving episode that he hasn't retired at all. He was laid off. And he just calls it retirement because he doesn't want people to think negatively about him. So he's got Invisaligns because he's trying to fix his teeth. Every room in their house now has an accent wall. He bought a giant TV that pisses off his wife. Like, he's just doing all these crazy things, all the while putting this pressure on Benny to be like this perfect person and be the athlete that he was in high school. But Benny doesn't want to play football anymore. He's gay. He's super gay, and he's trying to navigate not coming out because he's still not ready. And he's got an older sister who's at the college with him, and she wants nothing to do with him. It's just that great, awkward family dynamic that really kind of seals the show, I think. And his sister's boyfriend is Peter, played by Adam DeMarco, and Adam DeMarco is such a fun actor. I've never seen him in anything before this, but now I'm like seeing him crop up in everything, and I'm like, bro, where have you been? Like, what do you mean I'm suddenly seeing you everywhere? But his character Peter is like the epitome of the worst guy imaginable. He's like the head of a frat who, womanizes, cheats on his girlfriend. He thinks that he's gonna do great, wonderful things after college, only he's found out that his frat bro personality does not work in the real world. And he has depression problems, which cause performance issues. And it just spirals for him, and he just gets more and more unhinged as the season goes along. And the thing I was not expecting with this show, because I must have just forgotten that he makes a cameo appearance, but James Vanderbeek is in this show. And him showing up as one of the former frat guys was just like, holy shit, James. Like, oh man, you just died. Like, this is sad. But it was still fun to see him because, James Vanderbeek's always fun to have on a show. But yeah, this cast of characters are all just so quirky and strange. And it left me wondering if I just didn't have a good college experience, because none of this shit happened at my college. Like, none of the things that supposedly happened at this school ever happened at my school as far as I knew. But it could just be that I was basically like a Carmen, in that I didn't really get invited to stuff. I didn't really interact with stuff. And Carmen is like that until she becomes friends with Benny, and then she gets invited everywhere that Benny goes. My favorite dynamic, I think, on the show is Carmen and her roommate Haley. Haley is this quintessential blonde girl that is, as she says, I'm a girl's girl. And she does the most insane things at all times. And she will pop in the most random moments, stir the shit, and then walk away. I love her for it. She's fantastic. But like, it's just such an interesting, quirky show. Is it fantastic? No, but it's still fun. It's half-hour sitcom. Like, what do you expect? I don't know if it's sitcom's the right word, but it's a half-hour comedy. The episodes are small. They're quick and easy. And it ends on such a oh shit kind of moment that I was like, had to go immediately search and be like, did this show get renewed? Because I'm going to be pissed if it didn't. Because it was very much, they're at a party for New Year's, and it's been revealed that Peter had sex with Carmen and never told his girlfriend about it. And Carmen had just became friends with his girlfriend. And so there's that whole oh shit moment of everyone in that circle finding out what happened between the three of them. And then Carmen getting mad at Benny, and so she yells at him saying, well, you want to have sex with everyone's boyfriend. And it's just like, oh, girl, you did not just out him at a New Year's Eve party. And so, like, it's just chaos. And that is the end of the episode. And I'm like, please tell me this got renewed. And it says that there's chance of a second season. And I really hope there is, because, oh, that would make me so mad if that's the end of this show and we never see anything else. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed myself this week watching this, watching Benny just continuously make the wrong decisions and just dig himself deeper in a hole that he shouldn't need to have had in the first place. It's just hilarious. And his roommate is some random guy that shows up every once in a while, says something off the wall, and then leaves because he's like a lacrosse player or something like that, or a runner. I don't know. He's some kind of athlete. And a couple times we see him just stark naked, literally full frontal nudity, just standing there, just chilling in the apartment with Benny. And Benny's just like, okay, bro, like, what's going on here? It's fantastic. It's great. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's really fun. I laughed multiple times, and then also wanted to punch Peter in the face, which I think is the whole point of that character. So I think job well done that I wanted to punch Peter in the face.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds a lot of fun. I did also. It was on my radar last year, and I never got around to it. Might circle back.
I recommend that you do, because just the hijinks in general of, you think something's gonna go totally fine, and then it just veers left for no reason, and you're just like, you know what? That's chaotic and fun. I like that. Like the whole time, this whole, like, all of season 1, Haley will show up in some nice outfit, and she'd be like, at some event for the school, she'd be like, I need to get noticed by the campus couture account. Like, I need them to take my photo. I keep posing, and she doesn't get noticed until the final episode. She finally does. She's like, thank God. Like, yes, get all these angles. She's great. I love Haley. I think she's my favorite character of the whole show.
Yeah, it might fill the sex lads of college girls void that I have now. That might.
It might, yeah.
Close to
There's a character named Mimi that I think you might kind of like. She does a radio show about Twilight, and she's a lesbian. So, and then there's George, who works at the like campus store, and he's gay as the day is long, and he's so sassy. I adore him. But yeah, like, there's just so many odd dynamic characters that, like, they make sense piled together. But yeah, the parents are my favorite. Oh, the mom in the Thanksgiving episode, we find out that the mom is freaking out because she's an empty nester, and so she got a job at the mall. She got a job at the mall working at J. Crew because she didn't want working to ruin her experience at J. Jill, so she went for the J. Crew version and works for J. Crew. And one of her coworkers' dog, she needed to get rid of her dog, and the dog was pregnant. So now they have like 5 dogs in their backyard, and they're all named after Maroon 5 songs because the mom has become obsessed with Maroon 5. Like, it's stuff like that you're just like, what? It's great. It's fantastic.
So for our main reviews this week, we are talking about Starfleet Academy, which just recently wrapped up its first season on Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus really give us and take it away, but the show has brought on a lot of naysayers, a lot of negativity. There have also been a lot of defenders to the show, which as listeners to this podcast will know, kind of reminds us of The Acolyte from a couple years back, just in terms of response to it and varied levels of response to it. So, Mads, I will ask you, how do you feel about Starfleet Academy?
It had some highs and it had some lows, but overall, I think I somewhat enjoyed it. I didn't hate myself watching it, so I feel like that's something that should be stated. And I found myself really connecting to some of the characters, but I don't know, like, it just didn't hit the same way that other Star Trek shows have. And I don't quite know if I can put my finger on the why necessarily, but it was, as anyone who will listen to our Patreon episode will find out, I love Captain Nala, Chancellor Nala, whatever. She's phenomenal. Holly Hunter is hilarious and great. Like, she's the kind of head of a school that I would want to have in the Star Trek universe. And like, the teachers are fantastic. I love all the teachers too. But some of the students I'm kind of like about. And I was actually thinking about this today. I was like, when this season started, I looked at each of these characters that got introduced as this like class of students, and I was like, oh, they're going to be the core group. And you meet Caleb, and I kind of really liked Caleb at the start, and I hated Darum. And at the end of the season, I love Darum, and I can't stand Caleb. So I guess the writing wasn't too terrible because like their development happened. But yeah, what were your thoughts?
I'll say overall, I really like it. It is this kind of genre blend of Star Trek, but make it, a kind of teen high school drama or teen like college drama. And I think there are parts where it's Star Trek and parts where it's very much not Star Trek, where it is just the teen drama aspect of it. And sometimes that works better than others. I do really enjoy the teen aspect of it, I will say. More than I expected to. And I also enjoy this as a very far out look at Star Trek, which we got
Mm-hmm.
a lot of in Discovery. And so much of this is building off of Discovery with like Jet Reno and Tilly making appearances in this, which I think are really great.
I'm
But
in love with Jet Reno. But
God,
anyways,
Jet Reno is so good.
I want to have Jet Reno. I just want Jet Reno right now. Tig
Yeah,
Notaro, please come here as Jet Reno. Also,
Jet
the big
Reno's so
reveal
great.
that Jet Reno and what's her name are together. I was like, fuck yes, that is a power couple right there.
Yes, yeah. No, the funniest thing from Discovery would be like there are so many episodes where they obviously couldn't get Tig Notaro, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, Jet is in her lab. Don't worry about it. Because they can't be like
Hey, don't
Jet
worry about
Reno's
it.
not on the show anymore. Jet Reno's not on the ship anymore. They have to do the like they're taking a nap, but for Star Trek, which is
Mm-hmm.
really funny.
Yeah.
But no, I love that the like far out version of Star Trek where it's like here's like the ramifications of the burn and so much time of Starfleet as this really established presence in the galaxy that hasn't been able to really be around for the last 100
Mm-hmm.
years or so,
Yeah.
to the extent that like we're familiar with Starfleet being. So
Yeah, and I liked how they tied it in by like giving us those little like nods to people from the past, quote unquote, of Starfleet, right? Like you've got the Wall of Honor that has all these names that we recognize. You've got talks of them. Sam talks about a lot of different people based on what she's been implanted into her knowledge base. All
yes,
these different references to the past that like really tie it in and remind us this is Star Trek. But you're right. I think maybe that's part of it that was kind of like a little on the edge for me as to why I wasn't like 100% like this was fantastic. Was I do like it, but I really wanted it to be a little more Star Trekky. But I
mm-hmm.
understand the balance. It was fine. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't
Right,
terrible. It was just not exactly what I wanted. So it dinged a point or so off from that. But the characters are great. I like the exploration of, you know, scarcity of in terms of certain species because of the burn, because of the conflicts that have happened since Starfleet was last in practice, basically. And I really appreciated that they were like, not everyone made it out of this alive
yes,
or unscathed. Like
mm-hmm.
some of these species are on the brink of extinction.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed these looks at like the Betazoids and Klingons,
Mm-hmm.
who are like such like it's especially in like modern Trek so foundational Star Trek species.
Yeah.
But then, like, the kind of contrast that, like, I think I enjoy a lot of the teen stuff. I like the teens in general. Caleb is a frustrating character by design.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's his
um,
design, but oh my gosh, he really started to really start to piss me off towards the end. I was just like, all right, bro, whatever. But like I said, I started off really just having a bad taste in my mouth about Darum, and then we learn more about Darum, and you're just like, oh no, he's just trying his best. He's trying his best to get his
mm,
parents to notice him. And it's like, poor guy, I understand that. I respect that, So it's interesting how the storytelling got us to feel differently about these characters other than just our gut reactions to them.
yeah, I think particularly like Caleb inhabiting that like angsty, broody teenage guy,
Hmm.
which is such like a staple of teen television. So much of like the kind of Luke Perry archetype from 90210,
Hmm.
that I think he works more as a character to me than he doesn't. And like his relationship with
Tarima?
Captain Ake is really good, and then
Oh,
yes,
Captain
also
Okay.
Tarima, that kind of give and take of their relationship, which is so like unsteady and kind of volatile, but also so
Hmm.
teenager, you know,
Hmm.
like it's so 17-year-old
But then we
really
find
works
out
for
that
me.
he's not really a teenager when the messages from his mom are revealed.
Right.
And she's like, Happy 20th birthday. And I was like, What? He's not a teenager?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's coded as 17 without. I don't think most of these kids are
Yeah.
supposed to be 17. Um
I will say one of the most annoying thing about this season and this show was that the play they did was Our Town, and I take full issue with that, mostly because I feel like Our Town is just so overdone in every little thing that I'm just like tired of hearing about it. And I'm just like, can we use a different thing that has a similar story arc, because there are other things that you can use that's not Our Town.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's my little rant for the day.
But I love Genesis, who is just this very ultra capable star cadet person, just I think she's great. It did bug me for a while how I knew her, because I was like, I know her from somewhere. And
Yeah, what do I know her from?
she's Tony's girlfriend from the Wilds.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Yes.
I was like, yep, yep,
Okay.
there it is.
But I was like, listen, not gonna lie, first time I saw Genesis, I was like, oh my god, she's so hot.
She's
She's
so pretty. That does bring
so
me to another thing I
gorgeous.
really like about this show, which is that it is, I think, the most poly show that I've seen in possibly ever.
Yo.
I felt that at any moment, any variation of these characters could be hooking up, which is the prime thing that you want from a teen drama.
Which is also ironically one of the biggest problems that some people are having with this show, because I mean, it's centered on Jaden because he's like out, proud, gay, dating weird Kyle guy from War College. But like, it's like, oh, you have a problem with Jaden, but like, you don't have a problem with the rest of these characters basically making sex eyes at each other. Like, what?
Yeah, like I was like, in any given episode, I was like, Caleb could hook up with Tarima or Genesis or Jaden or Darum or
Yo, the episode where Darum and Jaden go to Darum's home planet for Darum to get married. I was like, are you guys gonna fucking kiss at the end of this? Because I swear to God, that's what it feels like. Swear to God.
I do think the best decision the show made was not having any of them but Caleb and Tarima hook up.
Yeah.
Like that's a great decision. Like that is such a good amount of restraint.
Yeah, they only show them because like it's implied with Jaden and Kyle, obviously, but like it's never shown. Which I think Kyle is just a boring character. I'm
Oh yeah,
sorry.
he's
He's
super
such a
boring.
boring character. There's nothing to him. So I'm like, Jaden, please go make out with Darum. It would be so much more interesting. Or hell, make out with Caleb for all I care. Like, just not Kyle. He's so boring. And I totally thought Sam and Genesis were going to become a thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I truly thought Sam and Genesis were going to be a thing.
I think out of any of them, I do, and hey, I got complicated feelings about this, but I do think that is the pairing that the show decides. No, this is a friend shaped
Yeah, I know.
relationship.
I know, but it would have
But
been so great.
oh yeah, it would have been amazing. But like that's just such a good trapping of teen TV, and in a time where we don't have hardly any. You know,
Yeah.
this is a feature, not a bug.
I also wouldn't have been surprised if Captain Ika had gotten in on Laura and Jet. Like, I would
Oh
not have
yeah.
been surprised at
Oh,
all. I've been like,
absolutely.
oh, you guys are gonna do a threesome? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get it.
Yes. But the other thing I really like about the show is you have these teens and then you surround it with some of the best TV actors who have ever lived.
Yep.
Of Holly
Mm-hmm.
Hunter, and even not TV actors, Holly Hunter, Paul Giamatti, and Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that's who that was at first. And I was like, wait a minute, why does she look familiar? And I looked up, I was like, oh, crazy and crazy work.
Crazy.
Crazy
Yeah.
work.
And especially Paul Giamatti, who is just digging in on kind of like highbrow, like high arch villain, like full
Yeah.
Star Trek bad guy, like twirling
I
a mustache,
truly
like
I truly think News Braca is one of my new favorite villains in the Star Trek universe. Like, he's so good, and his dynamic with Ika is Ika. Wow, I can't talk. Ika is so interesting, and it's so sibling coded. Like, it truly does feel like two siblings are fighting it with the biggest guns in the universe, and like. And I love that in the finale when she calls him out and she's like, "You're acting like a child because trauma happened when you were a child and you never grew up." And I'm just like, yes, get it.
yeah,
Read him for filth, because that is what he's doing. He's acting like a child.
totally. But Giamatti just like walking into every scene and just chewing
Yeah.
the fuck out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's exceptional. Like you would expect Paul Giamatti to kind of sleepwalk his way through a Star Trek show, but he is fully alive and alert. Like
He's like, I am committed.
he is so
I,
committed to the character and to the bit.
yeah.
It's incredible.
I do feel like in the last few years he's had a sort of career resurgence. Like, he kind of dropped off around the mid 2010s, and then he like showed back up in the last couple years with these like big things, and I'm like, I'm here for this. I'm
Yeah,
okay with Paul Giamatti having a later in life career, resurgence. It's been fantastic.
yeah, he's just so good. And Tatiana Maslany in the finale, like during the
Oh,
court drama,
kills
like
it.
interrogating Ake, it's just so good. Like she really is one of our best TV actors,
Yeah.
and the fact that we even have to say that is crazy. And then
Yeah.
like so much of the show like being cemented with Holly Hunter being admittedly a weird person.
Mm-hmm.
um but it's so delightful. And the people, I have to say, the people who are like, why is she just lounging around when she's the cat? Grow up. I don't know what to tell you. Get a personality. Have some fun. What's wrong with you?
Have some whimsy in your life.
Yeah, have some whimsy. You don't say shit when Will Riker is just laying around like a slut. I don't want to hear it. Uh,
I think my favorite thing of the whole episode was the prank war episode, or the whole season was the prank war episode, because she's having so much fun encouraging her students to be the worst possible cadets. Like, she's like having so much fun with it. She's just, I guess, just like giving them hints, and they are not picking it up. And you can tell that she wants to pound each of their heads into her desk and say, okay, here's what I want you to do. Because it took them way too long to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah,
But like that prank was genius.
yeah. I will say I think that's one of my least favorite episodes, but I do think it's very fun. And Laura's line of "They shenan once, they'll shenan again." Absolutely, 10 out of 10. No notes. What a great line.
She had some of the best one-liners. She would just show up and scream something and then walk off.
Her line to Jet of "Are you disrespecting dinner?" is amazing.
Are you
And
disrespecting dinner is fantastic.
I think
And it's
every
right
spouse
in front of,
should say that to each other.
and it's right in front of Darum, and then she walks off, and Jet's just like French Klingon cuisine. I never thought it or something, and I'm just like, she's acting like she didn't just do a big relationship reveal in front of this student who's just like having to mentally reboot from the thing he just observed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic! It's the greatest.
It's so good. But if we're talking about our favorite episodes, the Benjamin Sisko episode, where Sam tries to figure out what happened to Sisko,
Oh
got
yeah,
to me in ways that I cannot properly express.
that's fair.
It's so good. It's such a wonderful tribute to Deep Space Nine and to Benjamin Sisko. And I'm gonna tell you, most of that episode, I was like, I'm good, I'm fine. It's getting to me, but I'm good. And then the final moments of Avery Brooks voiceovering the final shot and Cisco's face in the sky, that truly got to me. That got to me. Even if I know that wasn't an original recording, that really tore me up. But also
Yeah.
seeing Jake come back in that as like older, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And then like the return of Dax, the reveal of Dax is
I also really liked the, them trying to save Sam and realizing that in order to save Sam, Doctor has to be a dad figure to her. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm not crying. You are. Who's cutting onions?
yeah, that's another thing that I really enjoy about the show is how rewarding it is. I mean, for a show that has gotten so much flack from supposed Star Trek fans, how rewarding the show is for longtime Star Trek fans is really great because like the culmination of both, like as I said, the Deep Space Nine episode, but also the Doctor, which we've been on like such a journey from Voyager with, and like his transformation from simple medical hologram to someone with real autonomy and still facing like very real human emotions like, hey, I don't want to get attached. Also, what a great cameo from Chiwetel Ejiofor as the hologram, like
Master?
mastermind, whatever whatever that was called. What a great Chiwetel Ejiofor almost doing like a Patrick Stewart impersonation. Great. Yeah, that episode is so good.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I think that's the only time I really truly got emotional this season. But then again, I didn't get as emotional with Cisco because I don't really know the context of Cisco like you do. So like it was me just being like, oh, here's just a character that I'm assuming is from another Star Trek show. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna assume this is a cameo. I don't understand the emotional weight of this, but I understood the emotional weight of Sam and the Doctor. It was such a rewarding payoff because I truly did start to worry that they weren't going to find a solution and that we were going to lose Sam. And I was like, don't you dare. Sam is so. Don't you dare. Sam is my child. I want to carry Sam in my pocket and protect her at all costs. It was a great series. It was great having those nods to things that we know. I like that the Starfleet Academy was in San Francisco. Like they're like, let's do the Golden Gate Bridge with space age type buildings around it.
Lower Decks had that joke of the Golden Gate Bridge of like, why is that still here?
Yeah. Yep.
Why? No, who drives? Honestly, who drives?
I didn't realize that Stephen Colbert was the digital voice at the Academy.
Yeah. Oh, there's Stephen
I
Colbert
didn't
as
realize that until I saw something, and I was like, "What?" Then I went back and listened to one of those clips, and I was like, "Oh yeah,
mhm.
that's Stephen Colbert."
Yeah, Stephen Colbert as the digital dean, Brett Marling as the ship voice,
Yes.
and then Rekha Shankar from Dropout was voiced the Dots early in the season, which I think is
Oh,
delightful.
that's delightful. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Ugh, it's
Also,
fantastic.
he was in Discovery. You have to allow me to become horny for a moment. Oded Fair as the Admiral is
Uh-huh.
unreasonably hot.
Yes. I don't know who he is, but he showed up, and I was like, "Hi, hello.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
stare at you."
Oded Fair from the Mummy movies, just chef's kiss. Just
Yes. Okay.
it's so good.
That's yeah. Oh, Deuce Bigelow. I forgot he did Deuce Bigelow. Yeah, I didn't quite understand why some people were so vehemently against this show. I had a fun time. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
I think some nerds just don't know how to have fun. I just don't know what to tell them at this point.
Yeah, I feel that. You know, we discussed this a lot when we were talking about the Acolyte as well. Like it's like, can't you just enjoy whimsy or just like things that are not super serious? Like, can you just enjoy it as another iteration of something that's ever expanding?
Yeah, because like, don't we want a franchise that we love to be doing new things, like shifting into a new subgenre? Like that's exactly what we want Star Trek to be doing. Like it's the thing that we've always
Mm-hmm.
we've been calling for a Starfleet Academy show for forever. Maybe it doesn't look exactly how you wanted it to or thought that it would, but that's a you problem.
The minute they announced that Holly Hunter was going to be part of it, I was like, I am sat. I don't care what this is. I will probably
Absolutely.
like it because she's phenomenal. And you can never go wrong with Holly Hunter.
I think the one final thing that I want to say here is that when season 2 comes around, I want the show to really legitimately consider polyamory instead of ship wars. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, hello, it's literally how Jaden was raised. He was raised with a polycule, so you might as well let him engage in one.
Yeah, no show. I think I have not watched a show in a very long time that is better served to be polyamorous. Not since Riverdale have I seen a show that would be better served with polyamory.
Make it queer more so than it already is.
Exactly.
Just let everybody just have fun with everything.
Exactly.
I literally this really shows who I am. That after I finished watching the finale, I watched it last week. But when I finished watching it last week, I immediately went to AO3 and was like, okay, are there Darum and Jaden fix because I need it.
But yeah, that is Starfleet Academy. Next week, we are going to be once again playing a little bit of catch up. And we're going to be talking about the recent season of Fallout, a show that I think is very good and also cursed to hell. You could have just come out in January. I'm not going to talk about it again. Okay.
We will talk about it next week.
I'm not getting dragged in. I'm not going to drag myself into this. Until next week, Mads, where can we follow you online?
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram at DorothyNYC89. And if you really want to go over to my Tumblr, I'm not there as often anymore, but I'm still lurking. It's Mads World 15.
And you can find me pretty much everywhere at Drew Koenig and also my Twitter at _Drew Koenig. You can find the podcast everywhere at Not on the TV Pod. Check out our link tree at linktree.com/Not on the TV Pod. That has all our social media handles, plus our Discord where we are talking about TV, trying to regularly. We're getting it back up off the ground. Also find our Patreon for exclusive episodes at patreon.com/Not on the TV Podcast for $2.99 a month. Or I think I did a yearly thing of $30 a year. You can have access to exclusive episodes and early release schedule. Please try to support us in that way. I would think it would make a big difference, if only for operating costs, because making a podcast is expensive. You can email us at notanothertvpodcast@gmail.com with any thoughts, comments, or questions you may have. Be sure to send us some show recommendations for stuff that you'd like us to talk about in future episodes, because as you all know, the format of the show has changed and the way that we watch TV has to change with it. So the more that we can look forward, the better. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on Apple and Spotify, along with whatever other podcasting device you use. All our episodes are also up on our Patreon. Until next week, please remember, don't go in the ocean. It's none of your business. Goodbye.